Welcome my dear listeners, stay with me to get the news first and subscribe to the channel. Let's find out what's going to happen on royal family. King Charles' childhood gift that he disliked right away led to a surprising lifelong aversion. It's strange for a king who loves nature, but he doesn't even want to be in the same room as this animal. The king is known for being a big supporter of nature whenever and wherever he can, but he reportedly doesn't even want to be in the same room as a certain animal. Sadly, his late aunt, Princess Margaret, seems to have started this aversion when she gave Charles one. Brian Howe, a royal biographer, said in his book Pets by Royal Appointment that Margaret gave her nephew a kitten as a present when he was a child and he disliked it on sight. The author's first reaction didn't change, and they added, since then, the king has developed an aversion to everything feline. He says he can't even stand having one in the same room. Howie said, according to Hello, and this news may come as a shock to some. His Majesty is a big supporter of wildlife, but a lot of people are either dog people or cat people, and outdoor cats can also hurt local bird as small mammal populations. The royal family is known for loving dogs, and King Charles has had a few himself. One of them was a Labrador named Harvey, who was in pictures of him and Princess Diana on vacation at Balmoral. He and Queen Camilla now have two Jack Russells named Bluebell and Molly, as well as a Lagotto Romagnolo named Snuff. The Tyndalls, the Welleses, the Edinburghs and Princess Anne all have dogs too. It seems that they don't want to own cats. Even they don't share King Charles' apparent dislike of them. Their homes wouldn't be the same without a dog though. People will always think of Queen Elizabeth when they see corgis. She got her first one, Susan, as a gift for her 18th birthday. This may have inspired Princess Margaret to give Charles a kitten years later. The Queen, on the other hand, was clearly much more in love with her gift and later got two more pets as gifts. In 2021, she got two corgi puppies, Muik and Fergus, and when Fergus died, she got Sandy as a gift. People say that these spoiled royal dogs had their own room at Buckingham Palace to sleep in, with wicker baskets lined with cushions to keep out any cold drafts. Orla, the dog of the Prince and Princess of Wales, is used to sleeping on their bed at home. During a visit to Duchy College, Stoke-Queensland, in July of last year, the future king talked to another dog owner. She told Hits Radio Cornwall he said that his little dog sleeps on the bed with them at night. With him and Kate, it's not clear if this is still the case now that they have another dog, since the princess said in February that they also had an 8-month-old puppy. She didn't say it, but most people think this dog is one of Orla's puppies from 2025. In the birthday picture of Prince William, Orla and her babies were there, and he looked completely in love with them. So they could have kept one of the puppies. It's not surprising that the Prince of Wales didn't want to get a cat when they were thinking about getting a new pet. He grew up with dog all around him. Queen demanded a change of Lilibet name. What the royal record really says. The viral version of this story makes it sound like Queen Elizabeth II told Harry and Meghan to change Lilibet's name, told Harry he couldn't use it, and then Prince Philip stepped in with a warning about Meghan that ended the family feud. The verified reporting is a lot less showy. There is a disagreement in the mainstream record about whether the Sussexes asked for permission before naming their daughter Lilibet. Later, biographies say that the late queen was angry about how the story of the approval was handled. I couldn't find any credible mainstream reports that show the formal request to change the child's name or a formal ban on Harry calling her Lilibet. The name itself was chosen as a way to honor someone in June 2021. Both Reuters and CBS reported that Harry and Meghan said their daughter Lilibet Diana Mountbatten Windsor was named after Princess Diana and Queen Elizabeth II's childhood nickname. Harry had told the Queen that he wanted to use Lilibet, and the couple's spokesperson said that they wouldn't have used the name if she hadn't been supportive. That was the Sussex's story at this time, and it became the main point of argument that followed. According to an unnamed palace source in the BBC report that started the fight, the Sussexes did not ask for permission before choosing the name. The Guardian said the same thing, saying that the BBC reporter got their information from a palace source who said they hadn't asked for permission. The Sussexes fought back hard, with lawyers saying the claim was false and hurtful, not a royal order to change the name, but a disagreement over whether the Queen had been consulted beforehand or just told afterward is the real historical fault line. The rumor is so strong because people have talked about how the late Queen reacted in more emotional terms. ITV reported in January 2024 that royal author Robert Hardman said a palace aide told him that Elizabeth II was as angry as I would ever seen her. After Harry and Meghan said publicly that she had given her blessing for the name, ITV's framing makes it clear that the anger was over the public claim of approval, not the reported request to change the name itself. That difference is important because it changes a dramatic demand story into a fight over how to communicate with family and how to do things. A later wave of reports made that point even clearer. In 2024, The Times and other news outlets repeated the idea that the late Queen was angry when the Sussexes said in public that she had approved the name. Reuters' earlier report from 2021 showed the same tension. The Sussexes said the Queen had been supportive, but palace sources reportedly disagreed about how that support was shown. So the story has never been about a real order to change the baby's name. There has been a disagreement in the family about what was said, when it was said, and whether the public version matched the private one. That's why the Harry banned from calling part of the headline is also too much. I couldn't find any mainstream news stories that said Harry couldn't use the name, say the name, or call his daughter Lilibet. Instead, the record shows that there is a disagreement over consent and consultation. The public evidence is about whether the couple asked for permission, just told the Queen, and whether their later public statement was true about what happened. That is not the same as a royal ban. The reason this is important is that Lilibet's name is at the center of a number of royal issues that are related to each other. Lilibet was the Queen's childhood nickname, so it means a lot to her. It's emotional because it also remembers Diana, and it's a sign that the Sussexes were already having a hard time with the royal family when they made the announcement. Some people thought the name was a peace offering after Harry and Meghan's explosive 2021 interview with Oprah Winfrey, while others thought it was just another problem in a relationship that was already having problems. Later biographies have also brought the story back to life. ITV and Vanity Fair reported in 2024 that the Windsor legacy, and Robert Hardman's reporting said that the late Queen was upset not just because of the man, but also because the Sussexes had publicly suggested they had her blessing when, according to the palace version, they hadn't asked for permission in the way the family expected. To put it another way, the heart was less about change the name and more about don't tell the world a version of events that doesn't match mine. That subtlety is lost when the headline turns the whole thing into a command. The name issue is still touchy because royal names are never just names. They're about status, belonging, and controlling the family's story. That's why a report from 2025 about Harry and Meghan thinking about changing their last name to Spencer because their kids' passports were taking too long got so much attention. People said that Harry and Meghan were upset about delays with their kids' British passports and the use of royal-style titles. They also said that the couple at one point thought about using the Spencer surname. The Sussex story shows how important names and identities are to people. Now we can talk about Prince Philip. The claim that the palace warned about Meghan is not backed up by any official records. It is a later biographical claim that has been repeated in modern news. People and Page 6 said in 2025 that a book by royal author Andrew Lawney quoted Philip as saying to Harry, "One steps out with actresses, one doesn't marry them." Those reports say that the line is a warning from a biography, not a confirmed record from the time it was rewritten. The same coverage also says that it has been used in royal commentary for years, which is why it sounds familiar even if it hasn't been verified on its own. The difference between an accusation on it and the fact that has been proven is what matters here. Philip's supposed warning has been told in biographies and later news stories, which means it is more like second-hand royal lore than official palace history. That doesn't mean the claim is impossible, but it does mean you should read it carefully. The Lilibet row is the same. The best reports say that the argument was about whether the Queen was consulted and how the Sussexes talk about the conversation afterward. Not that the Queen officially ordered a name change or told Harry not to say anything. The bigger picture of the royal family also explains why these stories keep coming up. Harry and Meghan stopped doing royal duties in 2020, and Reuters said that Buckingham Palace later made that split official by taking away their patronages. This was a big break for the institution. Since then, every story about names, titles, permissions, or warnings has been seen through the lens of that break. Even though the Sussexes live in California now, they still think about their royal past when making family decisions. That's why a child's name can be a headline in a constitutional style way. In short, the Queen did not publicly ask for Lilibet's name to be changed, and there is no reliable report that Harry was told he couldn't call his daughter that name. What the reports do show is that there was a real disagreement about whether the Queen was asked for her opinion. A later claimed that she was upset with how the approval story was told, and later claims that Prince Philip warned Harry not to marry Meghan. The sensational version is louder, but the verified version is more accurate. In royal stories, accuracy is usually the first thing the headlines leave out. And this is where the story takes a surprisingly human turn, because behind the titles and traditions you start to see something very simple, personal likes and dislikes that never really change. Because even someone like King Charles III, a lifelong champion of nature, can still carry a childhood reaction that quietly shapes his world for decades. And honestly, that's what makes this detail so fascinating. It's not dramatic, it's not political, it's just real. A small moment that turned into a lifelong feeling. In my opinion, it actually makes him more relatable because it reminds us that even kings don't outgrow everything. Some impressions just stay with you. But here's where it gets interesting. What if this aversion says more about early experiences than preferences? Because when Princess Margaret gave that kitten, it wasn't meant to create distance, yet somehow it did, and that reaction stuck. And that raises a bigger question: how many of our strongest likes and dislikes are shaped in moments we barely understand at the time? Meanwhile, look at the contrast inside the royal family, where dogs are not just pets, but part of daily life, from past generations to the present. And it makes you wonder, if that one childhood moment had gone differently, would the royal household feel completely different today? Looking ahead, it's unlikely this aversion will ever change, but it does add a quiet layer to how we see the king, not as a figure of duty, but as someone shaped by very ordinary experiences. So now I'm curious, do you think childhood impressions really last a lifetime like this? Or can they unlearned over time? And if you had one early experience that shaped how you feel about something today, would you ever want to change it? Or is that part of who you are? Because sometimes the smallest moment leave the longest shadows.